I still remember the exact moment my future disappeared. The letter from my dream university sat in my trembling hands as I stood in our small kitchen. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. "Congratulations," I whispered to myself. I had done it. For years of late nights studying, countless shifts at the grocery store, every sacrifice had led to this moment. I had been accepted into one of the best engineering programs in the country. I rushed into the living room where my parents were watching television. "Mom! Dad! I got in!" My mother jumped up and hugged me. My father smiled proudly. For one perfect minute, everything felt right. Then I asked the question that changed my life. "When can we access my college fund?" The room went silent. My mother's smile disappeared. My father stared at the floor. A cold feeling spread through my chest. "What?" I asked. Neither of them answered. Then my father finally spoke. "There isn't a college fund anymore." My entire body froze. "What do you mean?" My mother began crying. My father swallowed hard. "We had to use it." I couldn't process the words. "Use it for what?" My father's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Your brother." The acceptance letter slipped from my fingers. It fluttered onto the carpet. My younger brother Tyler sat frozen on the couch. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silence felt unbearable. My parents had spent 18 years telling me not to worry about college. They had promised my future was secure. Now, on the most important day of my life, they were telling me it was gone. All of it. Every penny. Spent. On Tyler. I looked at my brother. He couldn't even meet my eyes. "What did you spend it on?" I asked. Nobody answered. "What did he need that was worth my entire future?" Tyler suddenly stood up. "I'm sorry." Then he walked out of the house. I stared after him. My chest felt like it was collapsing. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my room staring at my acceptance letter. For years, my parents had reassured me. "We've got your college covered. You focus on school. Don't worry about money." Every promise had been a lie. The next morning, I packed a bag. I was 24 years old. And for the first time in my life, I didn't want to be near my family. I moved into a tiny apartment with 2 roommates. I worked extra shifts. I deferred enrollment. I told myself I would save enough money somehow. But anger followed me everywhere. Every time I looked at tuition costs. Every time I saw students walking across campus. Every time I thought about what had been taken from me. The worst part wasn't losing the money. It was realizing my parents had hidden it. For years. Months passed. Then strange things started happening. One evening my mother called. "Can we have dinner together?" "No." Her voice cracked. "Please." I hung up. A week later my father left a voicemail. "Son, there's something we need to explain." I deleted it. Then Tyler started acting strangely. He called repeatedly, sent messages, asked to meet. I ignored every one of them. One night after work, I spotted him sitting in a coffee shop, across from a man I'd never seen before. The two appeared deeply focused. Tyler slid an envelope across the table. The stranger nodded. My stomach twisted. What was he hiding? A few days later, I noticed Tyler driving a different car. A much nicer car. My anger exploded. So that's where the money went, I thought. My future paid for his new life. Then more clues appeared. My mother started disappearing for hours. My father took secret phone calls. Tyler frequently vanished without explanation. Whenever I asked questions, everyone became defensive. One afternoon, my cousin Rachel called. "Have you talked to your parents lately?" "No." She hesitated. "I think they're hiding something." I laughed bitterly. "You think?" No, I mean something bigger. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? I don't know. But every time I visit, they stop talking when I enter the room. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. What if there was more? What if the college fund wasn't the whole story? Then came the receipt. I found it completely by accident. My mother had mailed me an old box of childhood photos. While sorting through it, a folded receipt slipped out. It showed a payment. A very large payment. Made only 3 months earlier. The amount was enough to cover nearly half my missing college fund. My hand shook. The payment wasn't made years ago. It was recent. Very recent. I stared at the paper. If they were still spending money connected to my fund, then what else were they hiding? And why was Tyler meeting strangers in secret? I had no idea that the answer would destroy everything I believed about my family. And the truth was waiting inside a letter I hadn't even received yet. I thought losing my college fund was the worst thing my family could do to me. I was wrong. 3 weeks after finding that receipt, I received a phone call that pushed me over the edge. It was Rachel. Her voice sounded nervous. Jake, I think you need to see something. My stomach tightened. What happened? I was at your parents' house. And? She hesitated. I saw Tyler carrying a box of documents into your dad's truck. They looked important. So? He told your parents not to tell you. The moment she said those words, something inside me snapped. Not to tell me. Again. Another secret. Another lie. I thanked her and immediately drove toward my parents' house. For months I'd tried staying away. For months I convinced myself distance would help. But now all I could think about was betrayal. When I arrived, Tyler's car wasn't there. My father's truck wasn't there either. Only my mother's car sat in the driveway. I knocked. She opened the door and immediately looked worried. Jake, where are they? Her face paled. Who? Tyler and Dad. She looked away. That tiny movement was enough. She was hiding something. Again. Mom. Her eyes filled with tears. Please don't do this. My anger exploded. Don't do what? Ask why my future disappeared. Ask why everyone keeps lying to me. She began crying, but I couldn't stop. Not anymore. For months I carried the pain alone. For months I'd watched my dreams slip away. And now they wanted more secrets. No. I'm done. I walked past her and entered the house. Jake! I ignored her. I searched every room. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A folder sitting on the kitchen table. Tyler's name was on it. Curiosity took over. I opened it. Inside were dozens of documents. Medical bills. Insurance paperwork. Hospital records. My hands froze. Hospital records? Why would Tyler need so many? I flipped through page after page. Most of the information had been blacked out. But one sentence remained visible. Long-term treatment plan. My pulse accelerated. Treatment? For what? Before I could read more, my mother grabbed the folder. You shouldn't have seen that. I stared at her. What is going on? She looked devastated. But she still refused to answer. That was the moment I finally broke. I hate this family. The words escaped before I could stop them. My mother's face crumpled. The pain in her eyes lasted only seconds. But I would remember it forever. I stormed out. Behind me I heard her crying. Yet at the time, I felt nothing. Only anger. Only betrayal. A week later, things got even worse. I saw Tyler again. This time outside a law office. The same mysterious man from the coffee shop was with him. They entered together. My chest tightened. A lawyer? Of course. Maybe they were protecting assets. Maybe they were hiding money. Maybe they were making sure I never discovered the truth. Every explanation in my head pointed to the same conclusion. They had chosen Tyler, and I was simply the son they sacrificed. That night my father called. For the first time in months. I answered. His voice sounded exhausted. "Can we meet?" "No. Please. No. Jake." I cut him off. "Did you know I saw Tyler at a law office today?" Silence. That silence felt like an admission. My father didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He simply remained quiet. I hung up. The next morning, something arrived in my mailbox. A plain white envelope. No return address. No company logo. Nothing. I opened it while standing beside the mailbox. Inside was a handwritten letter. The handwriting belonged to Tyler. As I read the first few lines, my legs nearly gave out beneath me. "Jake, if you're reading this, it means I finally found the courage to tell you the truth." I stared at the page, my hands trembling, my heart racing. For months I'd imagined every possible explanation. None prepared me for what came next. "I didn't steal your future. I tried to save mine." The world seemed to stop. I kept reading. Every sentence felt heavier than the last. At 20 years old, Tyler had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition. One doctors initially believed could be treated. Then complications appeared. Then surgeries. Then specialists. Then emergency procedures. My parents had exhausted insurance coverage. They refinanced their home, drained retirement accounts, borrowed money, and eventually used the only large savings they still had, my college fund. I stared at the words, unable to breathe, unable to think. The hospital records, the secret meetings, the mysterious payments, the lawyer, the strange phone calls. Everything suddenly looked different. Every clue, every suspicion, every accusation. I continued reading. Tears began forming in my eyes. There were nights Mom slept in hospital chairs. Dad worked double shifts. Neither wanted you to carry the burden. They hoped I would recover before you ever found out. My vision blurred. I remembered screaming at my mother. I remembered telling her I hated the family. I remembered every cruel thought. And suddenly none of it felt justified anymore. Then I reached the final page. The page that completely shattered me. The reason Tyler had met with lawyers. The reason he had been carrying documents. The reason everyone had been acting strangely. My brother wasn't planning to take anything from me. He was trying to give something back. And what I read next left me standing alone beside my mailbox, crying harder than I had since childhood. The final page of Tyler's letter shook in my hands. I read it once, then twice, then a third time, because my mind refused to believe what my eyes were seeing. The lawyer wasn't helping Tyler protect money. He wasn't helping him hide anything. The lawyer was helping him create a trust. For me. My legs felt weak. I sat down on the curb beside the mailbox and continued reading through tears. Jake, when Mom and Dad used your college fund, I begged them not to. I told them you deserved your future. But by then, they had already spent nearly everything trying to keep me alive. I wanted to tell you the truth 100 times. They wouldn't let me. They were afraid you'd give up your dreams for me. My throat tightened. I remembered every angry thought, every accusation, every sleepless night spent imagining Tyler living some perfect life while mine fell apart. The reality was almost unbearable. While I was building resentment, my brother had been fighting for his life. I kept reading. Over the last 2 years, I've been saving every dollar I could. I sold my car. I cashed out investments. I worked remotely whenever my health allowed. The lawyer is helping me transfer everything into a fund for your education. The words blurred through my tears. I covered my mouth. No. No, no, no. This couldn't be real. For months I had believed Tyler was the villain. But every secret meeting, every phone call, every strange disappearance had been about me. The envelope nearly slipped from my hands. Then I reached the final paragraph. The paragraph that completely broke me. By the time you read this, I'll probably be in surgery again. The doctors are hopeful. But if something goes wrong, promise me one thing. Go to college. Live the life I almost convinced myself wasn't worth saving. You always said engineers build things that outlive them. Go build something incredible. For both of us. I couldn't stop crying. Cars passed. Neighbors walked by. I didn't care. For the first time, I understood everything. The mysterious hospital records. The hidden receipts. The lawyer. The meetings. The phone calls. The tears in my mother's eyes. The exhaustion in my father's voice. The guilt in Tyler's face every time he saw me. All of it. I had been completely wrong. And now my brother was in surgery. The realization hit me like a freight train. I jumped into my car. The entire drive to the hospital felt endless. Every red light felt cruel. Every second felt wasted. All I could think about was the last conversation I'd had with Tyler. The coldness in my voice. The anger. The distance. What if I never got a chance to fix it? What if the letter was the last thing he'd ever say to me? My hand shook on the steering wheel. When I finally reached the hospital, I ran through the entrance. I spotted my parents immediately. My mother sat in a waiting room chair. My father stood nearby staring at the floor. Both looked emotionally exhausted. The moment my mother saw me, she froze. For several seconds nobody moved. Then I walked toward them. Tears filled my eyes. "I'm sorry." That was all I managed to say. My mother burst into tears. She wrapped her arms around me. And suddenly we were both crying. Months of pain. Months of misunderstanding. Months of anger. Breaking apart in a single moment. "I'm so sorry," I repeated. My father pulled me into a hug. The first hug we'd shared in almost a year. "We never wanted to lose you too," he whispered. That sentence shattered what remained of my heart. They hadn't chosen Tyler over me. They were trying to save one son without losing the other. And somehow, they had been carrying that burden alone. For hours we waited together. Nobody talked much. There wasn't anything left to hide. The truth had finally found its way into the light. Late that evening, a surgeon entered the waiting room. Every person stood instantly. My chest felt ready to explode. The surgeon smiled. "It went well." My mother collapsed into tears. My father closed his eyes in relief. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. The recovery wasn't easy. Tyler spent months healing. There were setbacks. Scares. Difficult days. But he kept fighting. The same way he always had. One afternoon, several months later, we sat together outside the rehabilitation center. The sun was setting. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, I broke the silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" Tyler smiled sadly. "Because I knew exactly what you'd do." "What?" "You would have given up everything." I stared at him. And he was right. I would have. Without hesitation. Tyler laughed softly. "See? That look on your face proves it." For the first time in nearly a year, I laughed too. Then he handed me another envelope. "What is this?" "Open it." Inside were official documents. The education trust. Everything Tyler had promised in the letter. Every dollar he had managed to save. I looked up. "I can't take this." "Yes, you can." "No." He smiled. "You spent months being angry because your future disappeared. He pointed toward the papers. Now stop wasting time and go get it back. A year later, I walked across the campus of the university I once thought I'd lost forever. My parents stood beside Tyler at orientation, watching proudly. Together. As a family. Not perfect. Not without scars. But together. Before leaving, Tyler pulled me aside. You know what all this taught me? I smiled. What? He looked toward our parents, then back at me. The people who love us don't always make perfect decisions. His eyes grew emotional. But sometimes their worst-looking choices come from their deepest love. I never forgot those words. Because sometimes the truth isn't hidden behind lies. Sometimes it's hidden behind sacrifice. And sometimes the people we think betrayed us are carrying burdens we never bothered to see. My parents spent my college fund on my brother. For a long time, that felt like the greatest betrayal of my life. But in the end, I learned something far more important. Love isn't measured by what people give us. It's measured by what they're willing to sacrifice when nobody is watching. And that lesson was worth more than any college fund could ever be.